Hi students, this video is going to help you understand how to find and cite your sources. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do things, and hopefully you'll find the best way that works for you. So the first thing I'm going to show you real quickly is how to find sources. I didn't initially plan to have a video about this specifically because most students have a pretty good idea of where to go to find scholarly sources, especially after understanding how to evaluate them and things like that. But I am going to take a couple minutes just to help you find sources using the ASU library page, because that's one of the outcomes of the class, is that you know how to navigate our school's library. So the first thing that we're going to do is go to ASU library. That's the URL for it, and you're going to want to make sure that you are signed in. Alright, so you can see there that it says my name. It says that I am logged in. The reason for this is if you're not signed in, they don't know that you're a student, and being a student gives you access to the paid databases at ASU. So if you're using Google Scholar, or if you're using a different website to search for articles, you may run into a problem where the database wants you to pay to sign up in order to access that article. More often than not, if you access it through the ASU Libraries page, ASU already pays that membership and you'll be able to access it. So I suggest that you start here, and you've got a couple options right here. You've got the one search, which is going to search for journals, articles, books, magazines, newspapers, everything. Or my favorite, the Google Scholar search. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple different techniques of searching, and we'll go from there. The thing that's interesting about finding sources is that it's not hard once you crack the code of what the keywords you're looking for are. It's tough to find the right thing until you figure out what the keywords are. So we're going to try to get to the bottom of the keyword search. So before we actually get to finding scholarly sources, you're going to want to do some background information, and Google's a great place to start for that. Google has some great advanced settings where you can limit the date or limit the type of sources you're getting, which you can do in the advanced search if you'd like. You can look for specific things like this. You can look for books or things like that. So Google's a great place to go, and there's nothing wrong with doing your background research in Wikipedia. So I'm going to go to Wikipedia. Let's say I want to talk about vaccine controversies. Okay, and I can read a little bit about this. I can find the big players, the big issues, things like that, and I'm going to be able to find better keywords if I'm looking in the background information. So obviously you'll never use anything from Wikipedia, but there are some interesting keywords that would help me find the things that I really am looking for. So here's a keyword that I could search that would be directing me to more specific sources. There's a lot to read about, but here's another keyword that I might use if I wanted to focus in on something specific. Here's another one. So these kind of help to give me the vocabulary that I need to make my searches better. The reference page is also a great place to go to find scholarly articles, and sometimes just clicking on them will send you there. And if I try, let's see if I can download it. So I actually can see the whole thing, which is nice. Sometimes you can't. And it looks like I can download the PDF, which is nice. Sometimes when you click on things in Wikipedia, it'll take you somewhere else and you can't find it. but it looked like that one went through. So I'm going to use one of the keywords that I learned in my background research, and I'm going to use the Google Scholar search on the ASU page. Okay, so the reason you want to do this through ASU and not just the regular Google Scholar is you see this Get It at ASU. I can just click on that and it is going to fetch it for me. That's so nice. And then there's all these ways that I can cite it. And there it is. Okay. Now I'm looking at this and this is actually not the correct citation. So you have to sometimes, EasyBib, RefWorks, EndNote, things like this. You want to be careful because they're not always correct. And sometimes they don't always work. So I don't usually do my citations through sites like this, but I will click on the how to get it. So now it says to sign in for more options, or it gives me some other options of where to go to download it. So sometimes you kind of have to click through. It isn't always perfect. Sometimes it's hard to find a way to make it happen. So I'm still not seeing, let's see, full text in a new window. Finally. Okay, so that's the path I had to go to find this actual article here. Okay, so that's how you use the Google Scholar through the library search, and it makes it, that wasn't very easy, but I'm glad I found one that was kind of difficult, because then it showed you that sometimes it's kind of hard to figure it out. So that's how you use the Google search through the library page, and I find that that is the best way to go about it. Now I also want to teach you about Boolean operators. Boolean operators are words that you can use to help narrow or broaden your search. So and is going to narrow the search by telling the search engine to only search for things that contain both words. So if I wrote down vaccine injury and MMR, which is a type of vaccine, I'm only going to get sources that have both of those things in there. So let's do an experiment here. This gave me that many results. Gave me that many results. Okay, so it did help me narrow a little bit. So I kind of like this website because it shows that and is going to narrow the pool. If I use the word or, it's going to broaden the pool and give me all of those things. And you can also use the Boolean operator not, which is going to exclude certain things. So let's say I don't want to get into the autism thing. And so, and it's like, did you mean this? No, I didn't mean this. I want not autism. I want other things. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What's nice about the Google Scholar is I can search for things that are really recent, and then I can just click get it at ASU and it will get me the options and the articles that I want. So that's how you briefly use the the ASU Google Scholar to help you, and it can really cut down on the amount of time that you spend trying to do those searches. Now one thing I do want to show you is I actually used to show students how to cite using Google Scholar, and we have a problem now. So I'm going to click this. Oh, we already were here. Now I want to go back. I want to go to Google Scholar and show you. So I used to teach my students just to use Google Scholar as their citation. because you can click Cite right here and it's going to come up. So I'm going to put this in a Word file real fast and show you the differences between this old version of MLA and the new one, because we are in a new version of MLA and not everything online is updated yet. Okay, so I actually changed articles because I wanted to show you an example with one that was a little bit more modern. So here's the article that I chose, and this is what I got from clicking on the Cite button through Google Scholar. It's also what the library is going to give me if I click Citation and click MLA 7th edition. Okay, this is the problem. We are not on the MLA 7th edition anymore. We are on the 8th edition. So I used to really not like EasyBib. I used to be really against these citation generators, but I have changed. I have changed my opinions. So EasyBib gives a really good breakdown of the differences between the old MLA style and the new MLA style. And you can see that it is generally pretty new. A lot of books haven't been updated and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're always checking. So basically the reason they changed how they do things is that the 8th edition is supposed to show the process of research and writing, and to use a style guide that is applicable to any source type, because it was actually really hard with the old way of citing to figure out how to do a personal interview or to figure out how to cite a YouTube video or a tweet. So they made these changes so that it was easier to do different types of things. Oh, they said that right here. Facebook posts, things like that. So this is what they decided to do. So now you can use online handles or screen names as the author name. And we have gone to be a little bit more like APA, in that we are now using volume and number to denote the volume and number in a journal article. So you can see that this is how we are supposed to cite now. Volume 30, number 2, this is the year, and then we've got the pages. Okay. So it was up to the instructor whether or not URLs should be included, but now they are saying that you actually do need to include the URL. Even if it becomes outdated, it's still generally possible to find the URL if you need to. So those are the reasons for why they have made those changes. So let's take a look at what my citation for my article should look like, and how I can make sure that I'm using MLA 8 instead of MLA 7. So I can already tell by looking that this is the old way, just because I can see that we don't have page numbers, we don't have the volume and number, we've got this web hanging out there, and we don't have a URL or anything like that. Although this is a journal article, so we wouldn't use a URL in this case. So what I'm going to do is, I know, I'm going to go to EasyBib. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're at MLA 8 right here. You can, I don't even know why they have this option, but you can cite it as MLA 7. We don't want to do that. We want MLA 8. This is a journal article, and I can tell it is a journal article because this is the journal. Narrative Inquiry into Bioethics is the name of the journal. Okay? If you don't know what type of source you have, then it's likely that you don't understand the source. So if you're making guesses and you're like, I don't know what this is, you need to kind of go back more carefully, do some Googling, and figure out what type of source you actually have. Sometimes it does get a little tricky with online articles because you think, well, I'm looking at it on a website, it must be a website. That's not always true. If you're looking at an online database, you're working with a scholarly article. These are also called periodicals, so keep that in mind as well. So what I'm going to do is, so I clicked journal article, and I am going to put this in. We'll see if it finds it. There it is. Fabulous. So I want to cite that. Gonna continue to the final step. And I'm going to make sure that it has all the information that I have. So I'm going to take this over and look at these side by side. Got the author, journal title 6.3, okay, date, pages, okie dokie, create citation. So now I'm going to click copy and paste citation. And we've kind of got an issue now. So we've got my citation, it's written correctly, but now it's got this weird background color. The only way to get rid of that is to go up here to clear formatting, and then it gets rid of it. But then it gets rid of all formatting, so I'm going to have to make sure that I go back and italicize that journal title. So just remember that it's a series of steps. So if you're like, this is so silly, why is she taking so long to teach us this? Because I'm teaching you all these tricks, but you have to remember to go back, and if you clear your formatting to get rid of that blue background from the website, like this. Now this one didn't have it, which is great. So it depends on how you're doing it or how your computer responds, but you want to make sure that you keep the things formatted that you do want to keep formatted, and then you get rid of the things that you don't. So you can see the difference between MLA 7 and MLA 8, and that's how you want to do it. Okay. The Purdue OWL is your go-to resource on citations and how to use MLA. Okay, they've got the basics, they've got how to do each thing individually, how to do a book, how to do a journal article, here they call them periodicals, how to do a website, how to do other common sources. I'm a big fan of Control F and trying to find what I need. So that one doesn't have YouTube, so I'm going to try, I thought that would be a common source, but I'm going to go to electronic sources. And so this is going to give me the information I want on how to do YouTube. Okay, and I can just find it by either scrolling down or using Control Find, and then I can find out how to do a YouTube video. So if you've got a TED Talk or something like that, that's how you are going to cite a YouTube video. Something I do want to go over really briefly is you can look up how to do these for a works cited page. All you have to do is go to works cited basic format and basically follow the instructions. And you will need to do a works cited page for your issues paper, for your big research paper. So you want to make sure that you are using the correct format. If you've already done a works cited page before, that's awesome, but make sure that you are using the new updates from MLA 8. Okay, and it gives you all of these things on how to do that. The other thing I want to talk about with you today in terms of citation is in-text citations. Okay, this is when you have a quote and you are using your in-text citation, and it tells you how to do this. Basically, the rule is you just want the audience, the reader, to be able to know who's talking, whose ideas are in the paper, and where the ideas came from. So here you can see that we've got the author has identified, the person who's writing has identified that the ideas came from the poet Wordsworth. This is the direct quote, and that's the page they got it from. Now, if they don't identify the ideas as coming from the poet, then we need to put the author, the original author's name in parentheses. Okay? And please take note of how it is punctuated. There is no punctuation here. Parentheses, page numbers, close parentheses, period. Okay, so if you're unfamiliar with in-text citations, please click this link and read through it. You are responsible for knowing how to do these things. Okay, if you don't know the author, it tells you how to do it. If there's a print source or if it's a web page or things like that. So here's if I had a web page and there's no author, then I would just use the name of the article. And if it's a web page, I wouldn't have a page number. Okay, so you don't have to have a page number and things like that. It gives you all of the contingencies if you're wondering how to do it. See, non-print sources are the internet. This is how you do it. Okay, so you will need to know how to use in-text citations and how to create a works cited using MLA 8 updates. So I hope that was helpful. If you ever need extra help, as always, come in during my office hours or send me an email.